Today's episode is all about New Year, New Booze. Here are 3 whiskeys that I think you need to check out this year. Welcome back to Barrels and Bark. I'm Zach. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. If you like what we're doing and you want to follow along, please hit the subscribe button, like and follow and share. We would really appreciate your support. Well, it's the new year. That means new things to start. And I want to start off this year sharing 3 different whiskeys that I want to focus on this year and hopefully encourage you to check out. There's so many new things to try this year. With the bourbon boom, man, you can get caught up in all the new allocated and all the hard to find bottles. And don't get me wrong, I think those are a great opportunity to search and to hunt, and it's enjoyable to try to find. But for most of us, we may never see some of those bottles that you have been searching for years. And I myself, what I want to do this year is look at some different bottles that maybe are newer to me. Maybe for you, you've had some of these bottles, but there are 3 different types of whiskeys that I really want to explore this year, and encouraging you to maybe try some new things outside of your comfort zone. Here are 3 types of whiskeys that I want you and I to check out this year. Number 1 is this, rye whiskeys. Now, rye whiskeys can be made anywhere in the world, but to be labeled rye in the United States, they have to adhere to very similar bourbon rules. Again, 51% of a rye has to be rye, okay? You can go anywhere above that, but it has to be at least 51%. What I love about ryes is this, is a lot of times ryes don't have to age as long as bourbons. They have to sit in a barrel for at least 2 years, but you can get ryes out in the market quicker. Generally speaking, ryes can be one of those bottles that for a lot of people, they're not quite used to. Myself, it took me a while to catch on to kind of the rye flavor. It is extremely different than a bourbon. You get a lot more of that baking spice, you get a lot more of that pepper, you get a lot more of that tingly kind of sensation in your mouth. And for some of you, maybe that's a new thing. For others, maybe ryes are your number 1 choice. This year, what I want to do is I want to explore all the new ryes and old ryes on the market today. I think most of us, when you think of ryes, you think of the holiday season. And for myself, being in South Dakota, ryes kind of always come out of the closet when the winter hits and the snow starts to fall and the weather drops. And this year, I want to explore some different ryes out there. And so I'd love for you, comment maybe your top 3 ryes that you enjoy. Number 2, the second whiskey that I want to try this year is Irish whiskeys. Irish whiskeys are unique and have been around for a long time, but they've been aged for at least 3 years, obviously on the island of Ireland. And there really are 4 different types of Irish whiskeys out there. If you're not familiar with Irish whiskeys, there are 4 different types of whiskeys that come or can be labeled Irish whiskey. Number 1 is a single malt. Again, made in a distillery in a single pot from malted barley. That's kind of the traditional core of what Irish whiskey is all about. The second one is going to be the single pot still. Again, very similar to the single malt, made in a single distillery in a pot still, but it's made actually from malted barley. The third one is single grain. Again, when you hear single grain Irish whiskey, you think, oh, it's again just 1 grain, but actually it's a variety of different grains that go into the mixture that create these single grain whiskeys. And the last one is blended whiskey. Again, very much in the name, it's a blend of different types of Irish whiskeys that have been blended together to create a perfect bottle mix. Generally speaking, Irish whiskeys are a new category for me, not one that I've explored a whole lot. For many of us, we've probably had the Jameson at the bar. What I love about Irish whiskeys in our area is they're not as popular as bourbon, and so you can find some of those great bottles. Generally speaking, with Irish whiskeys, you're gonna get a lighter flavor. They're not gonna be as bold and as thick as bourbon is. But you're gonna get a lot more of that fruity notes. You get a lot more of the grainy, bready notes. A lot of people, when they drink Irish whiskeys, they get a lot of that fruit and almost like a shortbread, buttery flavor. They bring out a whole different flavor and different nuances that I'm not used to because I drink so much of bourbon. So I encourage you this year, try new Irish whiskeys. If you haven't got into that category, or maybe you haven't really built up a collection of Irish whiskeys, I would encourage you and challenge you this year, try some new Irish whiskeys. Venture out and get some of those bottles and see how they compare and how maybe they bring out different flavors for you. Number 3, the last category this year that I am excited to try out, craft whiskeys. Craft whiskeys are one of those that you are probably noticing pop up all across the country, maybe in the town that you live in. But these small craft distilleries are starting to produce a lot of different whiskeys on the market. Again, with craft distilleries, you don't get a lot of the notoriety or the publication or the spotlight that some of these big distilleries can do. They don't have the money, they don't have the distribution, and they don't have the ability to get it out to everybody across the country. With craft distilleries, they still produce amazing whiskeys. If you've noticed at all, if you followed whiskey trends at all, the word craft or small batch are really used probably in the wrong context in the market. A lot of times they get used as trendy or buzzwords. But when you look at really small craft distilleries in your local communities, these guys are producing some amazing products. What I love about different craft whiskeys is they can actually try different things, and they can innovate, and they can put some different nuances and try some different techniques that a lot of the bigger distilleries can't do or unable to do because they're not quite sure how it's going to respond in the market. But with craft whiskeys, they can actually produce smaller batches, try it out, test it out, and you can actually begin to try different things that maybe you've never thought about before. Now, the downside to some of the craft whiskeys are you're going to get a lot more of the younger age. I really am enjoying one from my local community called Black Fork Farms. These guys are producing some really cool bottles. One, the bottles are super sweet looking. But number two, they're trying different ways to age, different ways to influence different barrel notes into it. And they are just knocking it out of the park. Sometimes some of these bottles are going to have a little bit more of youth on them, but they can draw out some different flavor techniques and different innovations and different staves that they add that just create a different experience for you when sipping these whiskeys. All in all, this year is a year that I want to explore new whiskeys. I want to try different ryes, I want to try different Irish whiskeys, and I want to explore more of the local small craft distilleries in my region. I'd encourage you, join me on that. I'll try to review a few of these, share some of my experiences that I'm having throughout the year. But I'd love for you to comment on a few of your favorite Irish whiskeys, rye whiskeys, or maybe some local distilleries that you are enjoying right now. We hope to see you again here on Barrels and Bark. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.